All right, that's going to be the funnest part of the whole. Actually, I'm pondering the fact of making 2 panels a day, because as much as I love your presentations, guys, the panel is the thing. Well, it's actually the thing where Mike goes to shout at Altwin, so it's funny. All right, for this panel, day 1, we will have all those nice people, which I am going to reintroduce to you again. Number 1 being our good friend, Steve Scotty Scott. Join us. So basically the way it works is we have 4 mics and we share them. Or actually, I have 1 mic and you share the 3 others. One of those is this one, by the way. I was gonna say, I'm sure you're gonna grab the mics. Number 2 is Katharin Hausmann. Yeah, you either go on the left or on the right side of mine. Number 3, Mr. Alexander von Bello. Where are you? Oh. See, by the way, this time I wrote your name correctly, so I get better.
I'm going to applaud all the way till you get here.
All right. We need a frog. Damien, Gosset. It's funny because at the hotel they were telling me, Mr. Gosset. And actually, I'm pretty sad. I wish we would have John's grandma. We only have John Fox. John Fox. And this is the part where Scotty is looking at my preview slide here and is already seeing what's coming. Since we have Scotty and John, I absolutely wanted to show something which is a very good memory from NS Conference. This is where sound comes. This is John and Scott. Scott almost died. Scotty.
I didn't think about throwing him.
I'm somewhere. Altwin is actually Altwin is filming, right? It's your video, right? Watch out the technique.
Iron old man show. You want that one? Good job, yeah!
All right, enough of that. That was quite funny. So I want to thank Scotty again for organizing that. Like 2010, I think it was.
Was that 2010? Yeah, I think so.
You have mics, you know, by the way. You have mics. I think it was 2010. That was super awesome. And actually, I looked that up a couple of days ago, chatting with Altwin about that. Thanks, Altwin, for filming that. There's a bunch of that.
No, that was 2010.
Yeah, 2010. That's what I remember.
I'm just glad you didn't show the rodeo ball.
Oh no, but there's a bunch of those. If you go on YouTube and Google NS Conference Sumo, that's enough. Okay, so the question is, this year, who will be rude with not with you, but with who? And the big question is, can Scotty and John do as the Altwin and Mike thingy? We will find out today. By the way, it's probably better if somebody. Well, it's okay if you stay there, anyways. But you can come to the front. Don't hide. Probably it's better if somebody goes to my left and one microphone goes to my left. I will give the microphone. It was just a joke, the fact that it's okay, you can be with Scotty. It's fine if you stay with Scotty. All right, my very first question, panel-wise, and if you have questions, keep them for in the middle or at the end, is about Skeumorphism. And And where are you? So the very first thing I wanted to show is a very tiny bit of Apple copyrighted material, which I hope they're not going to put me in jail for.
Let's take a look at the new calendar. It has continuous scrolling, and what's really amazing is even without the stitching, the window still sticks right there on the screen. It doesn't fall off without the stitching. I don't know how we did it. It's engineering.
So for those who didn't hear that, yeah, by the way. All right. He just said, I don't know what we did. It's engineering. So he was a little bit mocking Scott. So am I the only one missing Scott? Well, not that Scott. The other one, the Scott's creepy Forstall. I will ask you guys what you think about that. Who wants to start about that? I love Skeumorphism. I miss it.
The question is not, I miss Skeumorphism. It's does Skeumorphism miss you? And the answer is, hell no, it doesn't miss you. Because, the leather, the expensive materials, Apple is famous for producing all their stuff in factories with questionable labor practices. So, all this expensive leather that was used into it, it was never paid. And I mean, they basically took one copy of it and duplicated it. I mean, you think I stole shit. Think about, where were the royalties paid for Louis Vuitton? So, no. In fact, if people have been wondering why the French economy has been in the chitter for the last ones, as people know, LVMH is one of the bright spots only because there are a lot of people in the world that have a lot of money and they buy French luxury products. Apple goes in and steals it so that you can basically have an electronic version of a Vuitton wallet and nobody's getting paid. So, no, I say to hell with Skeumorphism, it makes the economy tank.
The question is, who's up for a serious answer?
I'm not sure if serious answers are in demand here. Let's go back a step. Why do we have pseudomorphism? Why did it ever enter?
He's asking why again.
Yes. See. That's what I do. The idea behind the whole graphical user interfaces was to create things that would need no explanation. That's why we have things like the trash can and other things. They were made, the desktop in itself. The idea was to make things look like other recognizable things, things that people knew from their normal lives. They would know what the trash can is. They would have an idea what the desktop does, and all these other things. And again, I believe that you always have to ask the question, why? And especially with the overboarding pseudomorphism that we saw in iOS, with the stitched leather crap and other things like that. It does not help the user experience. And also, we have a changing world. There's a very funny story. A friend of mine was taking one of her kids to the optometrist, like where they check if you can see. And he was holding up a panel of icons. And it contained an old-style telephone. And she said, my kids don't know what that is. They've never seen a rotary phone in their lives. It's an icon. And the same applies for many things that we have today. Computers, smartphones are becoming a part of our normal life. People do not need hints to recognize what this is. They don't need to think that the calendar is their desk calendar or whatever. So, first of all, I believe it was right. Of course, I would say that to ask, why do we have this pseudomorphism? Do we still need it? No. Away it goes. The screen space can be used, we can make better use of this screen real estate. I love it. The other thing is, I believe it helps a lot of companies because now your design can be more prominent. Apple is not setting so many default expectations of the users. Apple is going to the background. So your content is more important. Your design is more important. And I really love that. So I'm absolutely okay with the direction that we're going. And now, glad that you asked about Scott Forstall. I'm so happy he's gone.
You're on video saying this, and we're going to send it to him.
Sorry?
You're on video saying this, and we will send it to him.
Yes, and I will continue. I will say.
I
tell
can't
you
believe
why.
he's dissing you like that, Scott.
I am gonna send him personally that video.
Excellent, and we can talk about this. He may disagree with my sentiment, but why I don't miss Scott Forstall, why I'm happy that he's gone, I remember him at the beer bash of WWDC. He came on stage, and I believe his exact words were like, "We are here to make you money." And yes, we all have families to feed, or we all want food and shelter and things, fair enough. Maybe we also want a luxury cruise and a jet plane, I don't care. But I believe what used to set Apple developers apart was passion and not greed. And when Scott Forstall went on stage and pronounced, "We are here to make you money," that's greed. That's fostering the love of money. That's not fostering the love of our users. That's not fostering the love of our products. So, bye, Scott. I hope I don't see you again.
I would like to disagree a little bit with the two of you.
Suck it!
Well, you're probably right, but I think you have to think.
Oh, no,
that-
don't start a disagreement with your probably.
No, you're totally wrong.
Just say,
Everything-
hell no, you're wrong!
Everything you said is wrong. No, I think you have to differentiate a little bit, and you have to look at what users you have. I think you can work via similarity, so people like something they're familiar with, right? And it's a good start to like stuff you do, you act on a constant basis with. But on the other hand, it always has this nostalgia trap for people, for younger people that are excited for the new stuff. It can create this distance. So it really depends what app you're working on and who is the client, who is the customer, and what they appeal to. And I think for some apps, nostalgia and working with Skeumorphism works very well.
Absolutely correct. And I believe that this is the opportunity that iOS 7 creates for us. Because now you are free, when you are creating such an app, where you believe that this is the right thing to do, you can now do it. Because Apple is taking itself back. And so I totally agree, but I don't think that the system apps necessarily need this. If you want to use, if you want to use pseudomorphism in your app and you have answered the question why, go for it.
Is because I want to a good enough answer? I sort of.
It's exactly
Because
the thing
we
I was
can.
thinking about. It's because I like it, a good enough answer. It's because I feel like I'm sticking to it. Like I like that thing. I mean, I feel like a very old person. That's a little bit what I just heard. But like an old person who liked to watch his photograph on a real photograph. Now I feel like this old person which has been taken away is nice Skeumorphism and letter, and I like that shit. Actually, I like that my calendar looks like a real calendar. It sounds to me like it belongs to the same world than the real world.
Yeah, but the problem you've just made there is you said, I like the fact that my calendar looks like a real calendar. The calendar on your phone is a real calendar. It's not a false calendar. It's not a fake calendar. It's a real calendar. For most people, they don't have any other type of calendar. So tying it back to the old world is pointless. Now, don't get me wrong, in the right place, a little bit of Skeumorphism, I don't mind. I think it can make things interesting, it can make them quirky, it can make them, give them a little bit of character. I think in iOS 6 it had just gone far too far. And I mean, and look at Game Center. I mean, someone threw up over Game Center, didn't they? I mean, it was just absolutely foul. But I don't, and so I like the direction we're going in, but I don't think what we're seeing in iOS 7 is what we're going to end up with. I mean, iOS 7 is really going back to, like, as it was called at the time, iPhone OS 1. I mean, if you look at, the very first release of the iPhone, before we could put apps on it, everything was really basic and cut down, and it grew. So I think what we've got here in iOS 7 is a platform from which things can start building again, and it will gain its own character. And as app developers, I think it's fantastic for us because everything's a level playing field again now. Anybody can take any market right now with a new UI because all of the old UIs are dead, end of story. You have as big an opportunity as anybody else right now, so take advantage of it.
I think what Scotty's trying to say is that the Apple environment is kind of like a cool garden, and every now and then you have to weed it a little bit. So.
Yay. Yo, brother.
Yeah, I think we're going to move to the next topic, but it was an interesting... Oh, by the way, Damien, you have nothing to say about that?
So the guy who spoke on producing your app has got nothing to say.
I was going to say, yeah, let's take this opportunity for real. There is a French guy who have nothing to say. Doesn't happen very often.
Okay, since you're partly French, the French part of it should hit yourself.
My mother tongue is French. Okay. All right. Anyways, to conclude this topic and go to the next topic, I want to show a very interesting picture that I found on the internet, which is a transition from the nice old days with Skeumorphism to the new, not so nice for me, days, which is this. And I found that on the internet, and I mean, it's a little bit disturbing, but it goes way more disturbing when you stop. It's an animated GIF. When you stop that animated GIF somewhere in the middle, and you end up with that. So, I'm sorry, but this is really, it's the son of both of those guys. Anyways. All right, let's go to the next one. And the next one is about this thing called the developer ID. So the developer ID, it seems to me that it's also from all the dub talk, that it's Apple's way of not pushing the App Store on the Mac. So basically, who doesn't know what the developer ID is? I guess everybody knows what the developer ID is. Cool, awesome. So I don't have to explain it. And I'm also wondering, and this is a question to you all, if it's not sometimes somewhat of a consent to that sandboxing isn't ideal for everyone, which is a given. Some apps just cannot be sandboxed, and also reflect on the fact that many apps, at least a couple that I know, like Mainplane or Money app, used to be on the App Store and went away from the App Store, from a version to the other, because they weren't accepting the rules anymore. And developer ID is kind of like the preference pane says it, in the middle.
Okay, I mean, I'm going to take a stab here that you're going to take quite a while to edit the videos, and I won't break NDA because it will be all over by the time we speak about this. But am I right in saying that in Mavericks, the default option that you have to go is Mac Store only, and you have to go and change it if you want something else?
I don't think so.
Isn't it? I thought that's
no,
what it was.
I think you're wrong.
It wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong.
Yeah, but I think you're wrong. I think it's still the thing in the middle. I think so. At least you're not breaking NDA.
Okay, I'm just making up bullshit. So.
Yeah, I know. It's the thing in the middle. But you was going to say something?
No, it's just worst if it's the case, in fact. I like the idea to bring security in the Mac, as I like the idea to bring security to the user, as we did on iOS. But the fact is that here, with this kind of option, with developer ID, we're just going in a way which is way too more dangerous for me. Too dangerous for me. I mean, we started computers and we started doing softwares because we like the creativity it allows us. We can do whatever we want with our computer. If we start pushing the fact that developer ID and everything, we're going to disagree on that, I'm sure. that we can just run applications signed by specific developers and approved by Apple, it may be a bit, for me, complicated. That's all. Go.
We have to see some facts here. One is I don't understand the question. Apple's consent that
Why?
MacDAV cannot,
It's a recurring theme between me and Alex.
must not use the App Store. There's one fact. Unless Mac OS X is changed in a dramatic, substantial, unbelievable way, there is no way that you're going to prevent running software that's not from the App Store on it. You would have to put security in there at a very base level. iOS is a closed system. But when you look at all the vectors of attack you could have on the Mac, it makes absolutely no sense to prohibit software that's not from the App Store from running on the Mac. That will never happen. And you can put that on tape, and you can quote me. That will never happen, if only for technical reasons.
But what will happen is APIs will become unavailable unless you're on the App Store.
I'm coming to that too. Now,
Sorry.
developer ID is a step in the right direction. That is to allow people who, for whatever reason, don't want to distribute through the App Store, can't distribute through the App Store for LGPL3 reasons or whatever, to identify themselves to the users to make the thing a little more secure. What I don't like is that certain features, push notifications, iCloud, etc., are only available. Sorry? Right. Certain things are only available if you're going through the App Store. And I have to say, I don't quite get it. So you could just promote the developer ID to something where people could use all these funky, shiny new interfaces.
I could tell you exactly why that is, because no one in this room is a typical user as far as Apple's concerned. One of the great things about iOS and the iPad and iPhone Apple have learned is, Grandma now uses a computing device that she's never used before because she can't basically screw it up. And there are far more millions and millions and millions of people in that camp than there are people who are technically competent to sort their machine out. And the more Apple can do to lock down a computer that it is an environment that people cannot break and will not break and are not frightened to touch, they really don't care about the power users, even though there might be millions of them who want to do all funky things on their machine because you are not important when it comes to that sort of thing. And so Apple's view is Grandma needs to be able to use the Mac without worrying that she's going to break it, without worrying that it's going to have to call someone to do tech support because the thing is just going to work. That's where they're going. That's where they're going to end up. And that's, as developers, actually that's a better market for us because millions and millions of people who wouldn't touch a computer will begin to touch computers, and we've just got to learn to live with that, I think.
Wait. We can ask a question, but if you don't ask with the mic, we have a problem. Who asked? Okay, wait. Hup.
So am I sensing this discrimination in the room that Grandma shouldn't be allowed a computer? He's a grandma hater. He's a grandma hater.
Should I repeat the question? Or?
I'm going to introduce you.
Oh, we understood it all. I would like to say something. I would like to say one more thing. Does everyone here in this room know how developer ID works? What I mean is,
why?
Developer ID relies on the fact that the quarantine attribute for a file is set.
Yeah.
So if you download a software, say by curl from the command line, or by a tool, by some sort of browser that doesn't set the quarantine bit, your Mac will not check for developer ID.
But
if
there is no such way anymore where you download a software, you install a software from the internet. So any
when you have curl, you can copy the software from a network or from a CD.
I'm sorry, you have curl, I have curl, nobody else in the world have curl. We all have curl.
It's on every machine.
It's on every nerd.
But you
It's
could
not
use.
installed on my grandma's computer. I mean, it's not
It's
installed.
installed, but
Do we
she's
know,
not using it.
here, Mac developers, is there a requirement that if you are selling a browser through the App Store that you set the quarantine bit? Is there such a requirement?
Sorry, say it again.
Is there a requirement for the Mac App Store that you must set the quarantine flag for downloaded content?
From the Mac App Store, you set it actually, the quarantine, or whatever that is. That's
No,
a
but
Mac
when
App
you
Store app.
sorry, when you are selling a browser, say Chrome or whatever, does Apple force you to set the quarantine bit? I don't know.
We kind of need the mic.
See? So you can't download, you could easily bootstrap that process.
Anybody from the audience, do me a favor, ask for a mic, because it's not really cool in the video when we don't know what the question was. It's a nice guess. Oh, before we go further, I need a little bit of sound from the computer. I just wanted to mention, even though Mike Lee is not yet there, he's going to be with us tonight at the dinner, so you can talk with him, touch him, and everything. But I brought Mike with me. And every time that somebody is going to say something where I think it's not completely right, I'm going to use this here. Okay? So Mike is with us. Actually, there is also here.
Fuck ones and zeros.
That's a good one.
Fuck ones and zeros.
Okay, we can go further. But I will bring the other bullshit now and then, again. Anybody else who, on the developer ID, I think we can go to the next one, right? Oh, you want to say something? The next one is actually speaking about the next one. We spoke a little bit about that last year. I wanted to come back a little bit to this amazing thing called Evening at Adler. We spoke about, we glorified Objective-C, and so I wanted to extend our discussion about that. And for that, I want to bring a couple of those guys like Wolf Rensch and Brent Simmons and Will Shipley and all others. And so we're going to watch a little bit of a video for like 1 minute and then discuss about that.
F-Script has had this for a long time. And F-Script is a great implementation. I use it all the time. I mean, right now, when I want to script Cocoa, I use F-Script. Even though I'm a PyObc fan, you know, F-Script fits my brain for scripting Cocoa better than PyObc does. And I guess I should actually mention what F-Script is and all that. Go to fscript.org. It's basically a small talk type language and environment for scripting Cocoa. So you don't have to write and you don't have to deal with pointers. You can create objects, message them, and it also features this thing called higher object messaging, where you can basically, instead of having to iterate an array to send a message to each of the objects it contains, you just can send the message to the array, and the runtime will do the right thing.
Okay, I'm going to go to the actual question actually here. Is if you don't know about this one, Google for it, 2005, Evening at Adler, 2.5 hours about a really interesting discussion. And what Wolf Rensch is here explaining, he's talking about F-Script, which by the way was explained in 2009 at the NS conference. F-Script is actually pretty cool. It allows you, among other things, to experiment with Objective-C. So, and being myself also a Rubyist now and then, what I kind of miss in Objective-C is the fact that a lot of time when you want to test something, you kind of have to compile, and there is no real REPL. What does stands REPL for again? I forgot that. Real. Not everybody together. One. Who said? Request, evaluate, print loop. Yeah. Evaluate print loop. Or at least some fix and continue or something. So, what's your point about Cocoa or Objective-C missing those kind of stuff?
Why would you need that? Write a unit test and execute it?
The whole panel is going to be on why. Because what I like in Ruby...
Who cares?
Like,
yeah. Because what I like, among other things, in things like Ruby, is I can just start an IRB or something like that and test something, which is something you can do with F-Script. But if you want to test something very, very quickly on NSString, you have to start a new project and compile.
No, you don't. You write a unit test, and you run that unit test. That's at least, I may be very stupid, but that's what I do.
Or you use Code Runner.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, yeah. There is Code Run as well. Yeah. Code Run is an option, but
It's not an issue, and if time is things, you buy a Mac Pro and it'll build fast.
But so the original question actually before this thing was also last year we spoke about the things we love in Objective-C, but actually I wonder if there are, that's not developer ID what I meant, the things we don't like about Objective-C and the things we would like to see fixed if anybody wants to go on this topic. Or you are 200% happy with Objective-C and there's nothing you would like to see?
When it comes to languages, I just use what's put in front of you and get on with it. It doesn't really matter what I think or don't think. If I can join the compiler team or whatever, then maybe it will make a difference. But language wars are old hat. Just use what's in front of you. We don't get any choice on the iPhone, really. If you want to stick with the Apple way, I guess other language like Ruby Motion and everything along now, just use what you like and get on with it. Was that not what you want to hear?
I have a question to the audience.
Why?
And to the panel. Because I want to know. In discussion with developers, there's always the question of, do we want typed arrays? So I'm asking all of you, who of you wants typed arrays?
Yeah, be useful.
It would be useful. And who of you thinks that typed arrays are a thing made out of, from the pits of hell?
I guess you should raise your hand, right?
No. I'm genuinely interested in, and there was somebody with a strong opinion. I would love to hear strong opinions on both. You can do that now, or you can do that tonight at the dinner.
Preferably if you're hammered, because there's no greater discussion when somebody's just drunk out of their mind going on about typed arrays.
Maybe if we put them in sumo suits and have the discussion at the same time.
Mostly, I completely agree with you. Like, I have no beef with, no OX beef with Coco.
I mean, we don't have to argue about different languages. We can just argue over dot syntax.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, and then I'm going to give you. Do you know what you are just saying here? The whole thing with Mike Lee started because of the dot syntax last year.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
I
look forward to discussing that with Mike Lee while I'm touching him this evening.
Because of Eric's question, and that's how it ended up. That's how Mike ended up almost killing Artwin. That's the whole beginning. Is the dot syntax. There was this one guy in the audience asking that question, like, "What about the dot syntax?"
Who here has ever written a compiler? Who here has ever written a full working compiler, a full language? Okay, Marcel, he's the clever one at the back. Other than Marcel...
Oh, there is another guy.
Is here. Okay, who has ever felt that they've strongly influenced where a language is gone? Then it's an irrelevant discussion.
I do, yeah.
You believe you've strongly influenced where a language is gone?
No, that I've influenced that? No, I didn't influence it. I felt influenced by it.
Oh, right, well, that's different.
I just want to add a little bit. I mean, this whole discussion about languages is kind of similar to this discussion about text editor or whatever. They're just tools to make things work the way we want it, and it's the end result that counts. I think what's more important for us, the iOS developers, is not the language itself, but the actual APIs and the frameworks that are behind it that we can use easily and get on to in order to make great products.
Go ahead, John.
While he's going up there, I will say this.
my first introduction to writing any code at all was with WebScript, which was something that came about with WebObjects. So it was interpreted Objective-C. And there is something nice about an interpreted language, especially if you're building a web app, because you can try something, hit reload, and you can get your result right away. It's a great way to learn a framework. And you're exactly right. It's not the language. I don't really care about that. It's the fact that, to understand how NS-string works or any of those things, you got to play. And I think that there's just one little point about it is that I think, if you look at evolution, you look at a healthy ecosystem, it's when there's a lot of ferment, when there's a lot of different people trying to do something. So, I think that if you have easier ways, or at least, easier ways for somebody to get up to speed with it, you might get different types of people writing software, and it's hard for me to think that that's a bad thing.
I played around with other languages recently, notably Clojure with the J for the JVM, which is a Lisp dialect. And I found that, yeah, Coco is missing a REPL, where you can evaluate and experiment with your code without compiling and stuff. And the other point is that I'm missing some modern concepts in the frameworks, basically. Like having what they call persistent data structures with its very misleading name. It's data structures that are non-destructive. You create new data, new containers from old containers by sharing their content. And this is has very, very good advantages, great advantages when you run with multiple processes and share memory. So I think Apple is lacking a little behind in the language game by basically adding nice syntactic elements to Objective-C and Arc, of course. But I think Apple should think of the next thing, and I'm hearing nothing right now.
We never announce future products. I can show you that the guys, on the compiler teams, which the compiler is open source, isn't it? So I mean, they sit there all day and think, how can we make this better? I mean, they're not sat there thinking we're not changing anything, and they're trying to take the language forward in a way that they know they can implement and make work. And it's very easy for us to say, why don't we just stick this on top and this on top and that on top? Yeah, I'm sure those discussions have happened. I mean, I'm not sure they're not there, and there's reasons they're not doing it, or maybe they just haven't done it yet. And I think, I think it's perfectly fine to say it would be nice and to let the compiler teams know that that's things we're thinking of. But outside of that, the discussion is, unless we're prepared to go and join the team, is almost a pointless discussion. And, if we like dynamic languages and interpreted languages, then write your stuff in Ruby, as opposed to try and change Objective-C. And I think what Katharin said about, I think a more important place we can influence is the APIs and learning to use the APIs, and we have the ability to write our own frameworks to go on top of it, which Apple will maybe eventually sort of adopt or do their own if enough people show that it's popular.
I was thinking, because it says fix and continue on that slide. Has any one of you actually ever used the fix and continue feature in Xcode? It's a more rhetorical question. I mean, it was there for like 2 months or something, and barely working at that. But I used it for a little while. It was in Xcode, and it kind of worked. And it was actually a really great feature, especially I do a lot of user interface programming, and there it's a lot, you write drawing code and you go like, oh damn it, I flipped the sign here, or I need to adjust that curve a little so that level meter produces the right output or something. And that's the exact kind of code that you would want to have a feature like that, because it's really, or even if you're doing mouse tracking or something, because you've got everything set up already correctly. And then you can just go in, change a line of code, click fix and continue, and then try it again. And you don't have to go quit your application, restart it, open that dialog, go to the right page on that one, and reproduce everything, so you can do that one click and then figure out, no, it's still not quite right. And I think especially those look and feely things are where something like this really comes in very useful. And yeah, it sped me up a lot, but of course, if you look at the typical layout of an application, the problem is you have several instances of the same class, and you just changed the class and added instance variables. So what should happen to those existing objects? And in, for example, prototype-based programming languages, that's a very simple solution, because every object essentially is its own class. So you just have the old objects that still behave the old way, and you have the new objects that behave the new way. But in Objective-C, that was a problem, and that's, at least my guess, why fix and continue got kicked again. And I would really love to see a feature like that. And while I see that it's a problem in debugging, for example, if you have a lot of runtime dynamism, that boat pretty much has already sailed with Objective-C. because that already has, like, you can have random objects in an array and grab one out and pretend it's some certain kind of object. And if you send a message to it, you'll find out whether you were right or you get an exception. So many people argue that this kind of dynamism is bad, but I think as Objective-C programmers, we can't do that anymore, even though I would like a typed array just as an additional safeguard, to get back to that point. But yeah, I think fix and continue, for everyone who hasn't used it yet, or for everyone who doesn't use many scripting languages, try it. Try working on something where you know you will have to figure out some values. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
We're gonna have to go to the next one because it's we are reaching the end. And actually, I'm gonna skip the next one. I'm gonna. Is there anybody who has a question? Because we only have a few minutes left, so I want to give some of you the opportunity to ask one of these guys or all of this guy a specific question. Otherwise, I have one question still. But if there is anybody, okay, nobody. So I have my last thing, which is again a very short video from this time very short from Evening at Adler, which is about support. And when you are lucky enough to have an app which is successful enough so that you have a lot of support, the question I was asked back in the days at Evening at Adler was actually, I think it's when do you know that it's too much support or something like that. Let's see what they said.
I think the answer to the question of when do you know it's too much is, like Brent was saying, is when you don't have time to develop anymore. When you're no longer advancing the product and you're solely dealing with fixing the product and handling the problems that people have, it's time to either bring in support people by bringing yourself into another company, as Brent did, hire support people, as Will is saying he did, and just get it so that you're doing what you need to be doing to advance the product instead of just treading water.
Bring all this talk about support.
I'm always hoping to have one day an app where the amount of support that I would receive would allow me to have a first world problem, and having to go to, I guess the only one here among us who has a real app out there, independent app, is actually John. So how do you handle support, and is it killing you or whatever?
No, I mean, first of all, it never got to the level where I felt like it was a huge problem. And I think that I spent a lot of time doing screen movies in advance, for example. So I would basically try and think, it's like, you're going to spend some time trying to show why people should buy your app. But then, for all the major features in the app, whether it's kind of how do you build a collection, how do you publish to the web, all the kind of step-by-step things, I spent a lot of time working on it. And they were hokey, they weren't the greatest video in the world, the audio quality, but it was a lot of preemptive things. And then there was, I'm also very lucky that I had users that were willing to kind of publicly help each other. I mean, it's kind of the community thing. And boy, if there's one thing that you should remember from Scotty's talk this morning, is that, you have to get the love of your community, and they will help each other. And otherwise, you will get stuck, where you are not able to develop your app.
I think the app I mentioned this morning, Moneywell from No Thirst Software, was a great example of support being done well. They made their support forums open. You could ask a private question, but by default, your support question was open. They encouraged the community to help each other, and people began to help each other. And as the support grew and the community grew, eventually Kevin employed one of the people who was very active on the forums to run the forums and be the support person, because they saw someone who was already good at the job and enthusiastic and really knew the product. And I think support requires a certain style, I'm useless at support. My first response to any support email usually contains just 2 words, the second one which is off. And so then I have to calm down and write another one. So I think support requires a certain style, and some developers are useless at it. So I would just encourage, let your users take the reins.
The one other thing, there's a great TED talk by David Pogue, who's the tech columnist in the New York Times, and he talked about using I forgot the name of the product, but it was basically a keyboard shortcut that you could type 3 or 4 characters and then it would insert 2 or 3 paragraphs into an email, and it's basically how he said he could maintain his voice and bring it to scale, and it was really funny. It was like you could type if it was the type of email that required a kind of very diplomatic but angry response, you would like type FOAD, fuck off and die, but it'd give us this very lyrical 2 or 3 thank you so much for writing, I appreciate having input, it makes me a better person, but okay. I'm not going to do that.
So that product is, by the way, I think TextExpander from the amazing folks at Smile on My Mac. It's a company also based in San Francisco. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We ran out of time. I had a blast again, and we the next big thing, so to say, is drink and eat tonight. Just like during the whole day, the drinks are all fully covered. So the only difference is tonight you get to be able to be drunk. Please, not too much. So there's going to be wine and beer. By the way, a funny anecdote about last year. The cook last year, when I went and see him and congratulate him for the amazing food, he told me that everything was fine and everybody was nice and you guys were awesome. He told me the only thing is I didn't expect them to drink so many beers. And so yeah, but yeah, I told him I will bring Scotty the next year to drink all the wine. So it's 600 meters away from here. For those who haven't been there, well, it's Bonnerstraße 242. You just go to the left, right, whatever, to the right, and then please don't come before 7 p.m. because otherwise the cook will kill me. And other than that, a big round of applause for all those amazing people all day long. I hope you had a blast today. You have one question? There is a parking place if you're fast enough. There's probably like 3 or 4 parking spaces, and one is going to be taken by a huge green VW.
You're not allowed there before 7, and at 5 seconds past 7, they've all gone.
Yeah.
So timing is everything.
Other than that, by the way, if you have a parking ticket for here, it's 24 hours. So I think we would have to ask, but I think you can get your car also at midnight in the middle of the night. So I would leave it here. So it's 24 hours, those €3 parking tickets. Round of applause for those guys and for you. And be ready for the funnest part of the day, which is not the day.